Price is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the Morning Market Prep video for September 29th, 2025. Well, we're running to the end of this quarter, and I gotta be honest, I'm a little bit surprised at the big gap up this morning. As we move toward the end of the quarter, maybe we're getting a little bit of that window dressing here this morning. We've been struggling to move higher in the last few days, and suddenly overnight we get all kinds of energy to push to the upside. So be watching carefully on this gap up this morning for those potentials of whipsaw. So let's take a look at what happened overnight in this market. First off, if we take a look at those Asian markets, well, we had Australia moving higher by 75.10 points, or 0.85%. The Nikkei was up 311.24, or 0.69%. India was lower by 311 points. India was down $19.80, or 0.08%. Hong Kong zooming higher, up 494.68, or 1.89%, and Shanghai higher by 34.42, or 0.90% overnight. If we take a look at European markets this morning, they are also green across the board, with the DAX up 70 points, or 0.29% higher. FTSE is up 66.83, or 0.72% higher, and the CAC is up $17.33, or 0.22% higher. If we look at U.S. futures this morning, we are very happy with the Dow futures right at this moment, up 200 points at the open, suggesting a 200-point gap up at the open and at new record highs. If we take a look at S&P 500 futures, up 36 points, and if we take a look at NASDAQ futures, up 160.25 here this morning, pushing toward those record highs once again. Let's take a look at those bond prices here this morning. Bond prices easing back just a tiny little bit here this morning. 2-year bond coming in at 3.62%. The 10-year bonds are coming in at 4.14%, and 30-year bonds coming in at 4.71%. If we take a look at how that's affecting our U.S. dollar, well, our U.S. dollar is just a little bit lower here this morning, as you can see, pushing down a little bit of follow through to the downside from that move lower on Friday. Right now, just down 16 cents on that U.S. dollar. Now, as a result, my goodness, what's going on here in gold is remarkable. Gold gapping up huge here this morning, $38.70 an ounce in the futures right now, $3,847.70 an ounce in gold futures, zooming here to the upside. If we take a look at silver, silver is incredible after stretching hard on Friday, gapping again this morning, coming in at $47.13 an ounce on silver, or almost 48 cents an ounce here this morning, higher. So really moving sharply up here. If we take a look at copper this morning, well, copper is also moving higher, gapping through to the upside, up almost 4 cents an ounce here this morning. And platinum moving higher but pulling back from that early morning high, up at 24.30 an ounce, while palladium is just slightly lower after zooming the last couple of days, trading days, up down 4.89 or 0.39% lower. So moving down just a little bit there. Taking a look at cryptos, crypto had a couple of really rough days here in the market, but not this morning. We've got crypto bouncing back up in a huge gap up here. 1,751.74 a coin at the moment, or 1.59%. We've got Ether up 82.81 a coin, or 2.05%. And we've got Solana up 74 cents at 0.36%. Sorry, let's get the right symbol in there. So trying to move back up. So kind of an interesting morning. As they're really pushing higher on that little bit, a tiny little weakening in the bonds. If we take a look at what's happening in oil prices here this morning, well, oil is responding substantially lower here this morning. If we take a look at USO, U.S. Oil Fund, pulling back after a big shooting star left behind on Friday and gapping lower, looking at $1.27 lower at 64.45 a barrel here this morning. Brent crude is at 69.10 a barrel, and natural gas is getting a little bit of a bump higher, but only up about 0.8 cents as it's continuing to try and hold this lower support in the chart. So a lot of things bouncing around here this morning, and we still got the futures grinding higher here at the moment. So let's take a look at these index charts. But before we do that, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up and let's get ready for the Monday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these index charts, see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at the charts for what they are, not for what we want them to be. We want to focus in on the details here and make sure that we are taking a look at every possibility in these charts. Well, first off, after breaking the trend here, in that upside move, we zoomed back up on Friday, and this morning the diamond's breaking out to new record highs as we continue to push hard in this market. I don't know where the bulls got the energy here this morning. We've got a federal government shutdown likely on Tuesday afternoon. There's going to be a lot of politics today to see if that can be averted. But tomorrow at midnight, our federal government is very likely to shut down at the moment unless something dramatically changes, which is always possible in politics. But kind of keep that in mind. Typically, in a government shutdown situation, markets tend to fall. So watch that carefully as we pump up here this morning, trying to say nothing here to worry about, just keep buying. We also have a situation here this morning where there's a news story out. This has been a developing situation for a long time, but the Buffett indicator, if you've never seen the Buffett indicator or heard the Buffett indicator, it is the total stock market value divided by the gross domestic product, or the GDP. And we are hitting new record levels here in the Buffett indicator. We are about 218%, or over 3 standard deviations higher, and we are above even the 1999 tech bubble situation here in the market. So we want to just be recognizing, I'm not saying the market's going to fall. I'm just saying what we need to do is we need to respect these valuations and just be keeping in mind that markets tend to really run into a problem when everybody believes it can never go back down. So are we there? Not saying that we are, but it's something to be thinking about in these valuations. So new record highs here in the diamonds, and if the bulls can find inspiration here in any of the data, well, there's every reason to believe then that we can continue to stretch on higher here. Blue sky above, and boy, if we stretch that much, we're really partying hard. But watch that carefully here in the diamonds, and because our breadth is a little bit concerning here. Again, I want to warn of the possibility of a whipsaw on this gap up this morning. So if the bears were to have anything to say here, well, a pushback down maybe just to test yesterday or Friday's close would be kind of that interesting move here in the market. We might push back obviously below this new record high, but watch that carefully. If the bears were to push anything beyond that, and I think we do have the potential for some big point whipsaws here in the market, we'll want to start watching these levels as we push on down, back down here in the chart if those bears were to get going. Right now, I don't think we have any major concern here in the market for the bearish side is if we were to break down below this tail in here that we saw last Thursday. So if we were to break down below that, we'd probably raise some concern in the market. If we take a look at our SPY, our SPY also stretching up, unable to break out to new record highs just yet, but it's not a very big stretch. If we can get those bulls to continue to push and to follow through, I see that possibility. We could easily be at new record highs and then blue sky above here in that chart. At the same time, if we were to whipsaw today, if we find any reason that we pull back here, watch this area here in the chart. There's a little bit of a support area in there, and we're gapping through that open. Pull back into here wouldn't hurt us at all. But if we were to start breaking that back down, that's where we're probably going to raise just a little bit of concern. Fear would likely come into the market if we break that little bottom right there. So watch carefully here in the market if those bears have anything to say. Very similar here in the QQQ after responding sharply higher on Thursday and now gapping up on Monday morning. We've got a ways to go, and if those bulls can continue to find inspiration, well, hey, every reason to believe they could pop on through there and have new record highs and blue sky above in the Qs. It's if those bears were to engage and we were to push back, that's where the excitement is likely going to occur here in the market. Pushing back into this little area price support would be the first step. Beyond that point, then we'd start progressing on through back down. And once again, although we could break this area here, I don't think we get any kind of major concern in the market unless we take out the low right there of that reversal candle. So watch that carefully here in the QQQ. Right now, bulls definitely in control. If we take a look at IWM, our IWM not able this morning, like the diamonds, to break out to new record highs, at least at the moment, but certainly not a big stretch to potentially see that occur. We would just need to break above here and hold above there to get that new, whoops, that's a little bit high. We could be right about there and make a new record high here in the market. Just peaking up above there is possible. So anything above here, pushing on through blue sky above, certainly a possibility. Now, if the bears were to push back, once again, we're going to be looking at these areas right in here, that little bit of a price support area right through there. And if they were to continue to push and break that on down, then watch some of these areas of price support in the chart as we push back down. Again, I don't think we come into any major concern in the market unless we break down below that area in IWM. Now, interestingly enough, if we take a look at the VIX had a good strong pullback there on Friday, really substantial, as we surged up, and particularly in the afternoon we surged up here in the market. You will want to keep in mind, if I draw a little upside trend, we're in here testing the support of that trend here this morning, or at the close on Friday. I'm going to guess that we're going to drop substantially in that here this morning. We'll have to wait and see. We could even be down below these areas of price support here this morning with this big gap up. So showing a little bit of maybe complacency possibly coming into the market if that were to occur, but watch that closely. If the bears were to reverse this in any way, shape, or form, then watch that carefully. And here, bouncing off of this area here could be a little bit of a problem if those bears were to engage. But there's nothing here in the market right now that suggests they have any teeth at all. So watch that carefully. Our T21-22 indicator, my goodness, we pushed back hard on Friday, pushing back up, bouncing off of this bullish reversal zone here. Remember, at one point on Thursday, we dipped just below into here, and then quite a push back up here in a show of confidence on those bulls. So this morning, guys, with this big gap up, I'm going to suggest that we're going to be in the bearish reversal zone here this morning in this big whip to the upside. We'll be up here, I think, in that area where we'll want to be watching for that potential whipsaw, that overbought situation here in the market. And if the bears were to have anything to say here today, if this were to completely reverse in the pre-market, pushing back, well, just kind of keep in mind we've got a big opportunity opening up for those bears if they can really get going. So watch that carefully. Now, our T2108 had a good response on Friday, pushing back up, got just back above that 50% area here in the chart. So if those bulls can continue to push through up here, let's see if we can break through that little bit of a downtrend that we've got going on in T2108 and get that good push back up in through here up toward that 60% area here in T2108. I will remind everyone that once we kind of reach up there in that 70 to 75 area of T2108, we tend to get just a little bit on that frothy side here in the market. So watch that carefully in T2108. T2107 also had a nice little response back, and it's holding up much better than the T2108 is. This is the percentage of stocks above the 200-day pushing up. You can see we've got this little modest downtrend in here, but bouncing up here before we get below 50% was a good sign on Friday. So pushing up through here, holding on to a very nice area of price support. With this bullish move this morning, let's watch this area of resistance up here and see if we can't just push right on through, pushing back up toward those recent highs here around 65%, just above 65, and then we can start pushing up toward that 60% area. I will keep reminding everyone that once we get into that 60 to 65 area here in T2107, we're in that very frothy, kind of extreme overbought situation here in the market. Then let's take a look at our T2101. Our T2101 is the thing that concerns me the most. On Friday, our breadth just faded. As we pushed up with the bulls, the breadth just faded after a gap up there. Just faded pretty strongly here. Just didn't have that follow through energy. Let's go to this chart here. You can see gapping up in the morning, fading back. Remember, this move up was on the bearish day on Thursday. We gapped up in here with some pretty substantial bearish breadth, and then as the bulls came in, we tried to push higher, but it faded back. It'll be interesting to watch this today. We do not want to see on this bullish move, we don't want to see that breadth fading back on the bullish wave. We want to see that breadth continuing to move on higher here, showing that those bulls are really standing behind this. This extremely low participation rate as we're hitting new record highs is very concerning, and one of those things that can create those big whipsaws. So watch that carefully. We gap up here and hit some new record highs, and at least in the diamonds this morning. And then if we were to reverse and fade back, that's how those big potential dark cloud cover patterns, bearish engulfing patterns, shooting star patterns can occur. So watch that carefully here in T2101. Let's take a look at our index charts, or excuse me, let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. In our economic calendar, we don't have a whole lot going on here. We do have that end of quarter situation here. An end of quarter can often create what they call window dressing, where end of quarter money comes flowing into the big institutions and they need to put it to work. And so we could have some volatility here, and I think that's what we should probably be prepared for, is volatility, is these big potential whips in the market over the next few days as this uncertainty kind of unfolds. So watch that carefully here today. We've got Waller will be speaking. We've got Hammock speaking this morning. So keep that in mind. As a matter of fact, Hammock is already is warning of a challenging time amid inflation worries. It's interesting to me that these so many of these FOMC members continue to warn and be seriously concerned about inflation when our economic numbers aren't showing that. Maybe they know something we don't know, but if they are truly data dependent, we are now 9 months into a declining inflationary environment. So interesting, they continue to repeat that over and over and over. So watch this carefully. We've got pending home sales here this morning. Pending home sales consensus is looking for a 0.7, looking for that to come up. Certainly wouldn't be a surprise. We had that short-term pullback in our rates. Could have seen some pretty good home sales happening during that period of time. Unfortunately, that hasn't been able to hold, and those rates have gone right back up. We got a Dallas Fed manufacturing number. Consensus is looking for a negative 0.1 from a negative 0.8. Just keep in mind, nobody seems to care much about manufacturing anymore. If we take a look, we've got a 3-month bill auction, a 6-month bill auction, and then 3 more Fed speakers here this afternoon we'll want to be watching. Of course, one of those is after the bell today. As we look into Tuesday, we're going to be looking at some more Fed speak. We've got Case Shiller in here. Chicago PMI will be in here. We've got consumer confidence, job openings report. This week is all about jobs. We're going to get on Wednesday mortgage applications as usual, ADP, PMI, manufacturing ISM numbers, construction spending, and petroleum status. On Thursday, we're going to hit those jobless claims and factory orders along with the Challenger job cut report and natural gas and some more bond auctions and Fed talk in there. And then on Friday, we're going to get that very important employment situation number along with a PMI composite, ISM services, some Fed speak, and the Baker Hughes rate count in there. So watch that carefully on Friday. So starting off with a really light week, not much for market movers here this morning in the market. If we take a look at our earnings calendar, well, we do have a few earnings here today to be paying attention to, and some notables that you'll want to be prepared for. We've got Carnival Cruise reporting this morning, so keep an eye on that. There are a couple other reports in here this morning, like CUK and UXIN. Whoops. There we go, UXIN. Not particularly notable on those reports. Now this afternoon we're going to get some of kind of a prelim here on some of the financials here. Jeffries will be reporting here this afternoon. Keep an eye on that. We've also got PRGS as a notable here today, and we've got Vail that will be reporting this afternoon. There are a couple other charts in their reporting, but not particularly notable charts in there. For example, like IDT will be reporting, but they trade as a general rule, pretty low volume in here, so nothing major in some of those reports here this afternoon. Let's take a look at some of these stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you can please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, clicking that thumbs up button, leaving that brief comment, that helps the channel to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who takes the time to do that. I truly, truly appreciate it. Hey, I want to let you all know that you still have a couple of days that you could pick up a $7 trial here in Right Way Options, and we've just had a bang up period of time here in the market, making some really good profits. So if you'd like to come over, check out what we do, be part of the room, you have just 2 days to be able to pick up the $7 trial. It is going away, and it will not be coming back. I will never bring it back again. Just letting you know, if that's an interest to you and you want to give us a shot for $7, take a look out there for just a 30-day trial. Let's take a look at some of these stocks that could be setting up. Remember, everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence. Be very, very careful in this market, and make sure you have a plan to protect yourself if we were to whipsaw here in the market. So first off, let's take a look at a couple of these big techs that are looking really strong in here. Google continues to be very, very bullish. Now, you can see it kind of stretched away from its upside trend, so we've been resting here for a while. But I would watch that carefully. On a bullish move like we're seeing today, we might actually get enough energy in here to see that stretch on higher and push right on through here, breaking out of that resistance. So watch that carefully. I also really wouldn't be all that surprised if we continue to chop along in here for a little bit before we get closer to that trend, but watch that carefully here in Google, looking good. Apple, very beautiful bullish setup here on Apple. Nice little resting bull flag in here up alongside this trend. The only concern I have here in Apple is that we really stretched big. We might be in a little bit of a parabolic move. But that being said, a day like today, we could push that right on through, be right back up here at new record highs in Apple. So watch that closely if we can continue to push that through to the upside. And I got to tell you, it's been interesting with the way that analysts have just been, the big downer on Tesla, how this has been showing lots of resilience and holding in there. And We pushed down on some downgrades and things on Tesla, but just turned right back around on Friday, stretching back up, and now we're gapping up here this morning. So watch that carefully in Tesla, still showing lots and lots of bullishness. Other charts in here, maybe not stretched out quite so much. Take a look at United Health. Now, United Health has been resting in this consolidating zone. It's been flirting here. Popped my alert a couple of times, flirting in here on that alert. Watch that carefully. We still have that nice potential move up here to move up toward that 200-day moving average. This is what we call a rounded bottom breakout, and it completes itself up there around the 200. So watch that carefully here. Every reason to believe a little bit of bullishness here in the market that could push on through to the upside. So watch that carefully. If we were to take a look in here, SWKS. What a beautiful little resting pullback in here on Skyworks. Just a little resting consolidation here. Look for that next opportunity that could push on higher. Very nice potential setup there in that chart. AMBA, I was talking about this last Friday on this little resting pullback in here. I think this continues to set up for an upside move. Watch that carefully, and you can see we're getting a little bit of bullishness there in the pre-market. Watch that carefully. We could stretch right on through to the upside there on AMBA. The old UPS and FedEx, boy, these are very, very sick stocks. And when I say sick, this is one of those reasons that I still think we have to be a little bit cautious. Despite the AI hype in here, this may be showing us that substantial weakness in the consumer's spending. Watch that carefully here on both UPS and FedEx, trying to make that move here to the upside, pushing through. A little resting pullback may set up that opportunity, so we might see FedEx trying to come back around. Notice we're sliding out from underneath that downtrend, where UPS is just continuing to show us major weaknesses here in the market. You might want to keep an eye there on FDX and see if those consumers are starting to come back around and really pick up on that shipping here in the market. Keep an eye on these technology stocks here in STX. My goodness, Seagate has run in such an amazing upside move here. I thought it was getting just way too parabolic in here, but take a look. We're holding up here in this next area of potential price support. Those buyers stepping in here, I think Seagate may have that opportunity to stretch on higher. And I'm going to say the same for WDC. This big stretch happened here in WDC, resting back just a little bit, and a little bit of bullishness coming in today. I'd look for that next potential move to stretch on through there to the upside. If you take a look at Taiwan Semiconductor setting up in here, that nice little resting pattern in here, pulling back. Watch carefully on this bullishness today. I could easily see that stretching on through to the upside, so watch that carefully. If we take a look at some of our financials continuing to hold in here quite strong. Watch those carefully. If those bulls can push this right on through to new record highs, and you can see in individual stocks like Goldman Sachs, every reason to believe that could push on through. Bank of America stretching up to new highs, continuing to push up. Citibank, a big strong move there, trying to push to the upside. And remember, it'll be the big banks that will kick off our next round of earnings. So right now they're showing tremendous bullishness and may stretch on through there. So watch that pretty closely. Let's take a look at the precious metals here, guys. Take a look. I can understand where GLD might be getting kind of expensive and maybe a little bit of a stretch for some traders out there, but you can take a look at some physical gold ETF, PHYS, coming in here below $30 still, pushing through to the upside. Very bullish upside chart. if you're wanting to get involved in gold, you might want to go there. And instead of silver, if that's getting a little bit pricey for you as well, you can go to PSLV physical silver. In here you're actually trading real silver, not paper silver. You might be able to find something in there, but a little rest or pullback would set up an opportunity. And I would keep an eye on any of the miners out here. Mining continues to be obviously, when gold and silver going up like this, anything they can pull out of the ground, they're making a bucket load of money on. So keep an eye on some of these stocks that are showing lots of bullishness and continuing to push to new highs. You can pick up the ETFs, and GDX or GDXJ would be another opportunity for the junior miners. So watch that carefully in there, looking very, very strong on that precious metal front, worth paying attention to. You can even see an opportunity maybe shaping up here on aluminum. Not exactly a super precious metal, but as you can see, pushing through here, big push on Friday, stretching back up through that trend break, back up above some support. So watch that up here. If those metals continue to show strength, I'd keep an eye on that. And I have a little bit of bias here because I am holding this trade in steel, but steel might be something else to continue to pay attention to. We are building across this country at a major pace right now, so watch that carefully here. CLF and that potential push, and what that building is mostly AI infrastructure and new power generation possibilities. So a lot of construction going on here in the United States, and I expect that, and that's just starting to ramp up. So watch that carefully. And last but not least, I would keep an eye on these utilities. Utilities are going to make money hand over fist with AI, as we're tripling and quadrupling our power consumption here in the United States for AI. So watch that carefully here, pushing on up. You can take a look at stocks like NEE has been really stretching back up to test resistance here in the chart. We got Southern Company. Wow, what a big push through the resistance. A little volatility on that here this morning, but watch that carefully in some of those utilities showing some tremendous strength. So there's a few stocks for you to look at, a few things to be paying attention to, and there are a lot more. But as you can see, I've run this video a little bit long. You all take care, be safe, have a wonderful day. As always, I wish you all the very best, and I'll see you right back here bright and early Tuesday morning. Have a great day, everyone.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Rideways my ranch on the trader's trail. Trading with heart where the profits prevail.